Welcome back to another episode of the Many Faces of Cancer podcast. I am your host, Melissa Grausbull, and joining me today is Jackie Herigodt. And Jackie has been a dedicated member of Imerman Angels since 2012. Her journey is deeply personal. She has cared for loved ones facing cancer, including her sister, who is currently battling stage 4 breast cancer and is a Lynch syndrome carrier. Jackie herself is also a cancer survivor, having been diagnosed with skin cancer. These experiences of personal loss, caregiving, and resilience have strengthened her commitment to the Imerman Angels mission. As Director of Partnerships and Engagement, Jackie leads the Mentor Angel Training Program, oversees community events, and manages organizational partnerships, including the one represented here today. She played a pivotal role in establishing Imerman Angels Outreach Initiative and launched the Global Ambassador Program, which empowers volunteers to raise awareness about the organization's work around the world. Jackie's professional goals focus on nurturing a vibrant, inclusive cancer community. She works to expand Imerman Angels' reach through collaborations with cancer organizations, treatment centers, and hospitals, ensuring that no one faces cancer alone. Jackie earned her Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from Northwestern Illinois University, and her diverse experience in animal training, customer service, and education has equipped her with unique skills, all of which contribute to her impactful work at Imerman Angels. So welcome to the show, Jackie.
Thank you. My pleasure, for sure.
What a great bio. I always appreciate it when people send me stuff so I don't have to make it up on the fly.
I bet you do. I can't even imagine.
Yeah. You're just kind of like, all right, what do you want me to say? Like, how can I introduce you,
Funny.
So where do you hail from, Jackie? Where are you living right now?
I am from Chicago.
Okay. Born and raised, or?
Yes, I did a 10-year stint in California in my later 20s and then came back home. Chicago's home.
Okay. Do you like the cold?
I don't.
Okay.
Absolutely don't have to think about that. But I do like the changing of the seasons, and I do appreciate not being like, what's the weather tomorrow? 70? The weather again tomorrow? 70? A little bit of the change. I just wish it would stay above 50 around here.
That would be lovely. I know Southern California, to me, that's probably just about as perfect of weather as you can get. But
I miss home.
I like the change of seasons. I don't like it to get very cold. The older I get, the less I like the cold weather.
Same.
All right, Jackie. Well, we're going to jump in. I've had a couple of people on the show before who are either mentored or mentors in Imerman Angels, but I wanted to have you on to really kind of do a deep dive about the organization and all of the great things that you do. But I want to start with your own personal journey. So as you said in your bio, you've been around it a lot. Yes. So can you kind of share with us a little bit about your own personal journey with your own cancer diagnosis as well as caring for loved ones?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see. So I had previously lost my grandmother, my grandfather, my uncle, my aunt, and my mom all to cancer. So
wow.
Yeah. So it's a lot.
Is there a genetic component to your to all the cancers in your family? Okay.
Yeah. And so even before actually confirming that, it was always a notion, right? We just knew that research had not come to that place yet to be able to confirm it. And so, unfortunately, fast forwarding to 2019, my sister was diagnosed and we did genetic testing. I kid you not, the very next day. And we were at first told actually that my sister had a VUS, which is a variant of insignificance. So essentially there's something there, but we don't have the research there. Hold on, wait a minute. We'll figure it out. We'll get back to you.
Hopefully at some point there will be testing available to know what it is.
Yeah, well, actually, so that was 2019. And then 2022, they did in fact come back and they said, yes, this gene is related to Lynch syndrome, and now you should have your family members participate in cascade testing, which essentially is having those people around you also have genetic testing to find out if they too are carriers. And so that is what essentially happened. So other family members of mine are Lynch carriers as well. So
Are you?
I am not, but
Yay. But
yay, but there's always the but. I still had a skin cancer diagnosis myself in 2020. So here I was with my sister helping her go through her infusions. And then the next day, she went with me to have Mohs surgery and skin grafting to take care of my cancer situation as well. So I was like, boy, do we know how to have a good time together, right?
you
So,
should share everything.
woohoo! So,
I
and they
mean,
were
that's
one
wonderful you
level
guys had
apart.
each other
What's that?
to, I said, it's wonderful that you had each other and you could kind of, lean on each other back and forth. Because I know a lot of people, when they go through cancer, it's like they want to talk to other people
Mm-hmm.
because they just don't want it to be all about them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you could like, okay, it's my turn now. All right, now it's my turn.
Yeah, I'd rather like do that with like ice cream or something. I don't know.
Right. Definitely true.
But
Yes.
this is the cards we were dealt. So we deal with
Right.
it the way we can. And that's how I ended up coming to Imerman Angels, because that is what we do. While obviously she and I can support each other because we were both going through cancers, her cancer is vastly different than what I had experienced, right? And so that's where
Mhm.
Imerman Angels comes in, where it's a very specific one-on-one match to someone who's actually been there, for all cancer fighters, survivors, previvors, and caregivers, to have that one person that understands, because they too have been that similar path in your shoes and can talk about the tips and tricks, be that cancer confidant, that light in a dark room that can really help support you. And like I said, with my sister, obviously it was great to have her there, and I was grateful for that support, but she couldn't support me on what Mohs surgery was going to look like.
Mhm.
And I couldn't support her on what the infusions were going to look like, or the surgery that she was about to have. Like, you just can't unless you've gone through that same experience.
You can just more be that emotional support and,
Right.
I'm here with you. And so how are both of you doing as of today?
Thank you for asking. Yeah. So, ironically, literally, she's on her way to her infusion right now. So, because she is stage 4 and HER2 positive, she will forever still have to have infusions of immunotherapy. So, she still goes every 21 days to go through those. And for myself, thankfully, I knock on wood, am still free and clear of any further skin cancers. Yeah, so
Awesome.
thank
So
you.
yours was caught pretty early?
Yes, thankfully. Oddly enough, I just kept thinking that it was just dry skin. And so I always tell people I had it on my ear, upper left ear, which is one of the most common places. So when you think about it, it makes sense.
Like
Yes. So I'm going to
feeling
tell
my
you
ears
something.
right now.
I'm going to tell you something, and I am such a huge advocate of this, because once I was explained this, I was like, duh. So left ear, because when you're driving, you're constantly in the sun, right? So
Right.
through the window of your car, when people put sunscreen on, they don't usually think about their ears, right? So the left ear is widely exposed to the sun constantly. So,
Interesting.
so I just thought it was dry skin. So I just kept scratching it, and eventually, like, I was like, this won't go away. What in the world? And this is someone in the cancer space for many years. At that point, I had already been at Imerman Angels, let's see, 8 years, and I
Wow.
still didn't know myself, because everybody does, oh, it can't be me, it happens to other people,
Right.
right? So yeah, so then finally, I went to the dermatologist, and she was like, what this is. And I was like, okay, tell me. And she's like, something we need to biopsy. I'm like, no. So I was literally cold capping my sister. So are you familiar with cold capping?
Yeah.
So I was cold capping her, and I was on a break, and I got a call from the dermatologist, and she's like, I have news you're not going to like, but this thing that we found is actually skin cancer. And my literal response is, I don't have time for this. And
We
she's like,
never have
what?
time for it.
She's like, what? I said, yeah, I know. I'm sorry. But I mean, I literally didn't, because I was on a time schedule with my sister's cold caps. And with that, it's very time related, and you have to like change to the next cold cap within a certain amount of minutes. And so I just was more concerned about her than I was my own diagnosis. And so just wanted to, help her again as a typical
I'll take
caregiver.
care of it down the road.
Right.
I don't want to do it right now.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So go see your dermatologist, get your yearly
Yep.
checkups. We've talked about this before.
Yep.
If you notice anything out of the ordinary, note it. Make sure you go
Mhm.
see your dermatologist.
Put sunscreen on your ears,
On the
and your
ears, yes.
left arm is your second highly diagnosed areas, for the same exact reason. A lot of people put their arm out the window while they're driving. And again, it's that huge exposure to the sun.
Now, does window tinting help? Or does it have to be a specific kind of window tint, or does it not really help at all?
I wish I knew the answer to that. I do
Okay.
not. I should. I will investigate. Thank you for that inspirational question, because I don't know the answer, and I should.
All right. Yeah, I wear, like, when I go out for my walks, because I love to just walk outside, I usually wear a baseball cap, to
Mm,
protect my face.
mm-hmm.
And my ears are always sticking out. So I'm always like rubbing a little bit of sunscreen on my ears to make sure that
Good. I'm so
that
proud
they
of
are
you,
covered.
Melissa.
But I don't do it in the car. And I mean, I live in
Ah,
Colorado where we have
oh
300
yes,
days of sunshine a year, and we're a mile closer to the sun. So something I need
yes. And your
to add
scalp
to my
too, right?
repertoire.
I'm glad you're
Well,
wearing a
that's
hat.
another reason why I wear the baseball
Yeah,
hat, because
yeah.
then my part gets
Your line.
sunburned and it's
Mm-hmm.
really uncomfortable, and I don't want to put sunscreen in my hair. So I just wear a cap. But
Yeah,
all right.
good. That's
Yes.
good.
Sunscreen on the ears before you get in the car.
Yes, please.
All right. Right. So your cancer experience was 2020,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
What led you, because you said you've been with Imerman Angels since 2012. So what
Mm-hmm.
led you to Imerman Angels in the first place? Because it wasn't your own personal journey.
Right. So crazy enough, we mentioned California. I had just moved back to Chicago from California, and I was wearing a Relay for Life shirt, which is American Cancer Society's big
Mhm.
event, and that was my first therapy, I would say. I knew that going through all those experiences, I need to figure out a way to give back and to be around people that understood what I was going through. And so I dove headfirst into this Relay for Life event, and really committed a lot of time to it. And so I wore a t-shirt, and I went to the dog park with my new dog, and had the shirt on, and a woman came up because our dogs were getting to know each other. And so we started talking, and she asked me if I worked for American Cancer Society, and I said no. I'm just a volunteer. And she's like, "Oh, you can never say just." And I said, "You're right. You're right." So I said I volunteer for them, and I really enjoy the opportunity of giving back. And she's like, "Oh, well, let me tell you a little bit about my story." And so she too had lost her mom to lung cancer. And we were about the same age. She was also not in the same area as her mom. So I was in California when my mom was going through lung cancer. She was here in Chicago. My newly found friend was actually in Singapore, and her mom was in Indiana. And so there was so much similarity that I almost felt that she was telling me my story, we related on so many levels of the emotional toll that it takes from being away from your loved one while they're going through such an awful diagnosis. But then how do you handle that, right? So like I luckily enough worked for an airline at the time, and so I could travel back. I was here in Chicago more than I was in California, but I also had a brand new baby. And no one gives you a handbook on how to be a new mom, and definitely nobody gives you a handbook on how to be the best caregiver to your mom.
Right.
So I was lost, and I just remember like having that conversation with this new person and her saying very similar details. And I thought, oh my gosh, all these years, I had no idea that there was almost like an imaginary wall that exists between people in conversation. And unless they've gone through it, that wall exists. And so when she was telling me her story, the wall just started crumbling down. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have never had a conversation where I felt so seen and heard as I am right now. And whatever is happening right now, I feel needs to duplicate. Everybody needs to have this experience. Everyone needs to have this full understanding. And then she said, well, great. Have you heard of Imerman Angels? Right. So I'm like, no, what is that? And she's like, oh, we connect people one on one, to people that have been in your shoes, and it's completely free and it's global. And, you'll really benefit from this. And I was like, oh my gosh, but it's already, at that point, it had already been about 9 years since I had lost my mom. And she's like, it doesn't matter. You carry that grief with you at all times. And if you wanted to, even, you could become a caregiver mentor. And I was like, well, what is that? And she said, that's someone that actually volunteers their time to talk to other people that are losing their loved one or are going through an experience with them, and can help support them through that journey of really talking to somebody and giving them tips and tricks and, really understanding. And so it's like, oh my goodness, I need to look into this. So I went home and I looked up mermaid angels, because I thought she said mermaid angels, because
Oh,
what is an Imerman?
right. And
And then I
Imerman
was
is Johnny
just
Imerman, who started the organization.
exactly,
Yes.
yeah. So, but I didn't know that, right? Like that name doesn't make any sense. So,
Right.
I was so disappointed when I got home and didn't find
Mermaid
mermaid
Angels.
angels and this wonderful organization she's talking about. I'm like, oh my gosh. So luckily I ran into her at the dog park like a few days later, and started volunteering immediately, um, and got to meet Johnny Imerman, got to meet the founder. And for me, that was my first opportunity of really meeting a survivor. And his energy, if you ever get to meet Johnny Imerman, he's just like no other. And so meeting him really inspired me to find more survivors out there that had actually gone through this experience and made it to the other side. Because for me, all I ever saw was people getting diagnosed and not being able to be there much longer to talk about
Mm.
it. And so he was an inspiration from a very different perspective for me. And then just meeting other survivors, and then eventually meeting caregiver mentors too, and just like, again, feeling like I found my people, feeling like they understood, right? And that was really important and life changing.
Well, because it is, and that's, we've talked about this several times on the show, is that there's just something about, like you said, the walls coming down when you meet with somebody who's been through, even if it's not the same experience. And I love that Imerman Angels matches you up perfectly, but just other people in the cancer realm. Like we have an organization here in Colorado called Epic Experience, and they
Oh, I totally
offer,
know them. Yes, they're
right,
one of our
adventure
partners.
camp for cancer survivors. And I was very, very fortunate to be able to participate in that this summer, and just spending a week with, between the staff and the volunteers and the campers, like 16 other cancer survivors. And we all had different kinds of cancer and stuff, but just being able to share without feeling like we need to hold back or don't want to bring people down or don't want to talk about this C word because it just depresses people. And just having those kinds of relationships, it's so important for people going through this. You know, my husband has said many times, like, how can you talk about cancer every day? Like, I'm happy if I don't ever hear that word again. And I was like, I get it. Like, his experience was very different from mine, but
Mm-hmm.
I do it because there's just that connection
Mm-hmm.
and that feeling, because no matter, you know, he went through it all with me, but as a caregiver, he's never going to understand exactly what I go through and what I went through. And other people who have been through it, they
Mm-hmm.
get it and they understand, and there's no weirdness kind of thing. So I totally get that, and I love, you know, the Imerman Angels. So, like, talk a little bit about just the philosophy for people who don't know and what exactly Imerman Angels does.
Yeah. So, first of all, love Epic Experience because they do create these magical. I mean, Epic Experience is a great name because that's what it is, right? So,
Absolutely, yes.
but ultimately, you experience this. It's that power of connection,
Mhm.
right? That having those conversations with someone who's gone that same route, that understands side effects, that understands, you know, the emotional toll, understands financial issues, like all of these different things that is part of the whole journey, right? And connecting with someone who gets you, I feel, heals the heart.
Mhm.
And it's almost
Absolutely.
like I can never put the words together on and do it justice, in my opinion. You know, even though I've been doing this 13 years, it doesn't matter. Still can't figure it out. Like it allows you to process your experience in a different way, because when you're going through this, you don't have time to think about what am I going through? How am I doing? Like asking these intricate questions about how you're feeling, you know, or how you're processing things. However, when you turn around and you get connected to someone else and you're able, as a mentor specifically, to shed that light and share what you learned, then you're able to process in a whole different way. And that's why I say it's very therapeutic, to be able to connect on this one-on-one basis, because you're so similar. So when we're matching people, you know, we're in 123 countries. We have had over 16,000 mentor angels, so those volunteers that give back. We've
Wow.
matched over 44,000 mentees. This was just our 19th year birthday.
Happy
And
birthday.
Thank you. But you know, it's very large, right? 146 cancer types we've matched on, and these previvors and caregivers as well are in this community. And we're making sure that people that are going through these experiences have that person that can really relate to break down that wall. Yeah.
And also, like you said, it's not just about the mentee. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the mentor gets
Oh, for
a big benefit out of it as well, because they can process what they went through by
sure.
sharing and helping somebody else.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think people always like go in. I know that people don't go into it. I didn't,
Well,
to
no, they
say
just
I'm
want to
going to
help
help
others.
myself. Yeah,
Right.
you're like, I'm going to help. I'm going to throw that life raft back. I'm going to help someone else, right? And then when you discover the gift, the magic of this, then you're like, holy cow! Why didn't I do this sooner?
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the caregiver piece, because
Mm-hmm.
until we chatted right before this, I didn't even know that caregivers was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so many caregivers that I talk to, they feel like they don't have anybody
Mm-hmm.
because they spend all of their time focused on the patient. You know, I talk a lot about caregivers finding some way of self care, some way of doing something for themselves so they don't get completely lost in the other person. But I haven't heard of this kind of situation where a caregiver can be matched up with another caregiver and
Mhm.
really be able to share. So can you talk just a little bit about that piece of it and the benefits, because more people need to know about that part of it?
Absolutely. So, even you had mentioned your husband as a caregiver, right? Like he can't get it. He doesn't understand what you went through. Well, to be frank,
And I
you
don't
don't
understand what he
understand
went
what he
through.
went through, right?
Right.
And that's why our role in this psychosocial space is so important, because you can't tell me he didn't get impacted by
Oh
the
God, probably
experience.
more than me, actually.
And I cannot tell you the amount of people, survivors, that say that exact same thing.
I would be the patient over the caregiver any day of the week.
Yep.
Just what they go through is just, I don't know if I'm cut out for that.
Yeah. And maybe that's what your husband thought too, right? So that's why it's so important that people recognize that we can support the caregivers, because they are balancing their lives and their caregivers, right? Life doesn't stop when your loved one gets diagnosed with cancer.
Right.
It
Well, a lot of
just
people, like,
doubles.
they have to still work and
That's
bring
right.
home money because the other person can't,
That's
and
right.
take care of the house and pay the bills and all the other things on top of giving all this care to those who need it.
That's right. And so we find actually that men mention, while they don't like to ask for directions, we find when they do connect, the impact is a lot larger. They rate that it's a lot larger on them than women do, because women quite often have the know how on how to just talk to someone. Like
Mhm.
for me, I can meet my next best friend at Walgreens, no
Right.
problem,
Me
right?
too.
So
Yep.
like it's not a problem. But for men, they're not like that oftentimes, right? So for us to set people up, no matter what gender they identify as, like they can get someone that understands their experience and is just like them. It's not them trying to navigate, who am I going to talk to? It's, here is someone who gets what you've gone through because they've been there. And so they can help them navigate how to be the best caregiver. What are the things they wish they would have known? What are the things they learned that were beneficial to them? And, a lot of people, and I do it too, we talk about self care for the caregivers. Well, if they're balancing their own health issues, their own jobs, maybe children, like when do they actually have time to do self care?
Yep.
Right. And so this is where having a mentor can actually help you, because you could do what's called time bundling. And so sometimes when you're in the car, you can, I do not like hand holding phones on in the car, but if you have like hands free, you could talk to your mentor. Talk about the things that you cannot tell your loved one. You're scared, you're angry, you're frustrated, you're confused, you're overwhelmed. You're not going to tell your loved one while they're going through their cancer experience to save their life about your problems, right? But you are going to benefit from talking to someone who gets it and says, you know what, I understand. I've been there too. This is what I did. This is how I, scheduled my day, or, whatever that they actually felt was beneficial to them. And then it's things you may not have thought of, right? So you have this caregiver helping navigate through the system. The other part of where we really come into play, that again, unfortunately, not everybody thinks about until you're in that situation, is when the caregivers are going through these experiences. Let's say that the loved one unfortunately doesn't make it through the experience. Let's say they've had a chronic diagnosis, they've been in the hospital for a very long time. This caregiver starts networking with the medical staff, right? They start getting into this routine. They have worked out now their life around this care of this patient, right? Going through this, and they become close with the medical staff. They just get it in their minds how this routine works. Well, now their loved one's gone. Now they lose their loved one. They lose the care team as like their everyday, interactions. They lose that routine, right? And now they're trying to grapple with what grief looks like, what their new life looks like. And while they have their friends and family around them for a while, checking in, are you okay? What can I do for you? This kind of stuff. They don't have anybody that's gone through that experience that can talk about, well, this is what my life looks like 3 months after. This is what my life looks like 1 year after. This is what my life looks like 5 years after. And this is how I've dealt with the grief, right? And moving forward. And so that's where our caregiver mentor angels can add a tremendous value because they get it.
Now, can someone be, I guess, transferred to a different mentor? Because I mean, say
Sure.
you have a caregiver mentor who's helping you through this,
Mhm.
but they haven't lost their
Mhm.
loved one. Can
Yep.
you switch? And also like, okay, I have this kind of cancer
Mhm.
and now it's come back and it's metastasized, so I need somebody different to talk to. Is that part of what
Yeah.
you guys do?
Love that question. Yes. So we are with them along the journey. So, yes. So let's take a patient, for example, and this happens quite often with specifically breast cancers because it's so intricate in the diagnosis. So let's say that somebody gets diagnosed with like a stage 1 breast cancer and they're told they're only going to have a lumpectomy and radiation. Well, and then something happens, they don't get clean margins, and then like let's say their genetic test comes back and they decide, oh well, now you need more than a lumpectomy, you should probably do a double mastectomy. Well, that original mentor that we matched them up with that had only had the experience of a lumpectomy and radiation is no longer going to be as supportive and understanding
Mhm.
because they did not have a double mastectomy. So the mentee is asked to come back to us, tell us their new process, right? What they're going to go through, and we will match them up with maybe somebody else that has that same genetic mutation, maybe somebody else that had the double mastectomy. So again, they have like for like and very similar for the caregivers. So the one thing too that is different with caregivers is most of the time caregiver mentors are someone that has already lost their loved one
Mhm.
because they don't have time when they're caregiving
Oh,
to
that's true.
also volunteer, right? So I would
So their
say
loved one either gets better or they
that's right.
pass on,
That's
right?
right. Yep. So that's the majority of our caregiver mentors. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And then what is the process if somebody is interested in either becoming a mentor or a mentee? What is the process that they would go through to start on this journey?
Sure. So easiest way is going to our website. So just immermanangels.org. And
We'll
there
put
they
that in
can
the show notes
thank you.
so they
Um,
don't have to spell it, right?
Yeah, and don't look up mermaid angels.
Right.
So
You can
it's
look up mermaid angels, but
you
you're probably not going to find
could,
what you're looking
yes,
for.
yes, it might be nice.
Yeah.
But then along the way, it's Imerman Angels, and then you decide what you want to look for. Do you want to become a mentor? Do you want to seek support? Are you looking to get a mentor or a caregiver mentor? Are you looking, so it definitely divides up on the website. And then you go ahead and register, you put information in there. And the nice thing now is that you can actually register a time. So make an appointment to talk to us. And then we'll go ahead and call you and we'll assess your needs and figure out what makes most sense for you. And then if you're seeking support, we'll find a mentor for you and then we'll introduce you and then y'all take it from there. If you're becoming a mentor, then we do a little bit of training on the phone and then we send you the rest of the materials online. And you go through an interactive module where you can actually get certified and trained through that. And all of this is pretty quick. The process is usually about 2 weeks as a
Okay.
whole. That's getting registered and getting your assessment and, moving forward to the next level. So, yeah, it's pretty
And there
simple.
is training involved to become a mentor.
Oh, yes. So we
Okay.
say that the bulk of their training is their own experience because we can't train on that, obviously, right? But then we do give them guides to go along and some, tips and tricks again too, because you need to understand what it's like to be a mentor and understand your role, right? Because we're not therapists. We don't want people to think we are. That is definitely not our role. But being able to help someone in this way is very specific. and they need to understand. And we'll always protect our mentors and let them set up boundaries, but some people don't know how to do that, right? So these tutorials kind of help them through that and guide them as well.
Yeah, I would imagine boundaries is kind of a challenge because if somebody's in crisis or they need you right away, it can be a little challenging sometimes.
Yeah, so we set it up so people understand how to do that, and definitely feel like they have the opportunity to kind of put that boundary down, and also to have a heads up on when these things are becoming a thing for them, and to let us know we're always there. They just have to reach back out, and we'll always step back in to help with additional resources or what have you.
Okay. And then do you have a recommendation if it's a patient or somebody who wants mentoring? Is there kind of a best time in your journey to reach out, or is it, completely up to the person when they feel they need support, or do you recommend early in the journey, or what kind of is your recommendation for people who are looking to be mentored?
Well, Melissa, you're coming to someone who's very biased. So I would
Okay.
say
Right
at
away.
first and while and after, all times, because at first you don't know where to begin, you don't know how to navigate all the things, you don't know what you're gonna endure. And then while, obviously, you're going through your treatments, you're going through the process, this is a lot, this is all new, this is overwhelming. What do you do with all of these new things and navigate so that you can come on the other side and be this survivor, right? And then when you're the survivor, you're like, okay, well, now I'm back into the world that I was in before, and it looks nothing like it looked like before. So now I need to navigate the new me, the new routine, all the new, right? So I always say through the whole process, you need support. And, because again, each step is a new step, right? To move forward, and having somebody that's already gone through it. It's like, why would you want to not have someone to talk to figure it out on your own? Like, sure, but it's going to take you a lot longer, right? Like, let's just help you. Have somebody hold your hand through this process.
I gotta say, I wish that I knew so
Mhm.
many of these things when I was going through my journey. Like my whole life, I have no history of cancer in my family. Cancer was never even on my radar. And then, boom, I get diagnosed and I'm like, I don't even know. Like, I didn't know
Mhm.
Imerman Angels existed. I didn't know
Mhm.
about Epic Experience. Like, I didn't know anything. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, the hospital I went to, great medical care. Like, I love my doctors. But as far as supportive and resource care, there just really isn't a whole lot. And I've learned about all of these things through other people and starting this podcast and talking to people. So that's part of why I do this show, is to have resources for people so they can have that extra support and extra love and everything going through the whole process instead of finding out about it 2 years down the road.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's why you're so important, right? That's why, and even if there's like people listening and they're like, I don't need a mentor, like, I'm fine, share this information with someone
Right.
else. To your point, like, you wish you would have known about us when, right? I can't tell you
Mhm.
the amount of times that I have heard that. That
I
is what
bet.
keeps me up at night. So, so thank you
It
for
just
highlighting
fuels
that.
your job even more. Make sure you're getting to
Exactly.
everybody.
Exactly. That's our biggest problem, is not enough people know about us. And so, we're always looking to help more people, always looking to get more mentors, because that is our whole entire role. We don't do anything else. We're not, driving people to the hospital. We're not funding research. We're not making people look beautiful. All those things have its own niche.
Right.
We're just doing the peer to peer, and we, are very proud of having such a large network of those that want to do this and can provide the support.
Absolutely. I love that. All right. Well, Jackie, where can people find you? I mean, other than the main Imerman Angels website, where can people find you, get a hold of you if they have more questions, or they just want to chat more about, what you've talked about here or Imerman Angels in general?
Well, we're on all the social media outlets, and we are headquartered in Chicago, even though we have staff all over the place now. And I would say our phone number of just 866 Imerman Angels, and you can reach out there. And yeah, I think those are the main routes of getting to us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll put all of that in the show notes, so it will all be kind of right at your fingertips if you
Mm-hmm.
want to get involved or if you want this extra support.
Love it. Thank you so
So
much.
now finally, Jackie, I'm curious if, because you started in Imerman Angels based on your family history,
Mm-hmm.
has anything changed for you since your own diagnosis as far as what you're doing with Imerman Angels, whether it's professionally, whether it's personally? Like how has your experience with Imerman Angels changed since your own diagnosis?
Nobody has ever asked me that before, so congratulations on a new question, and I love it. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think that it has fueled me even more to recognize how I don't like people recreating the wheel. And so my role has changed to now director of partnerships and engagement for that exact reason, because I want to continue to partner with people so that they don't recreate the wheel. That if they're thinking in the oncology space, they want to have a peer to peer mentor program, just come to us. Have us do it. And because I do too often still hear that, I wish I would have known about you when. And I know the financial and also the just bandwidth of what it takes to have a peer to peer. You have to have the financials, you have to have the training, you have to have the people. I mean, there's just so much, right? We already have this going. So my whole role changed to be able to direct and really dive down into partnerships. And while we're in partnerships, let's engage with the community a bit more and have community opportunities. So we have more virtual events that teach people around psychosocial topics. Example, we just did one last week that was about side effects and self advocacy. Why is that important to have those two together? Well, people are going through side effects and they don't want to talk to their doctors because they're afraid that they're going to be taken off the medicine, or
Mhm.
they don't know how, or their doctors are too busy. These are literal myths that people were telling us. And so we had an event by a director of oncology address that. And how do you talk, and why is it important to self advocate? And so we have these types of events that are like teaching opportunities with our community on a quarterly basis. And so that's something we did not have prior to my own experience.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. This was awesome. And thank you to Johnny. Thank you to you for having this program available for so many people who definitely need it. Personally, I think that everybody going through this needs this kind of program, and hopefully it will just continue to grow and you will get more people matched and get everybody that support that they need.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And thank you for doing this. Appreciate you
Of
too.
course. You
Yeah.
are very welcome. And we're gonna continue to get the word out about you guys.
Love it. Please do.
All right. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.